Smoosh Art ASMR.
Hey everybody, today I want to introduce you to a art technique that I was recently shown. It's based off of printmaking, screen printing kind of thing, and it's really simple to do. And whether you're never touched art supplies before and are very intimidated, or you're a professional artist that might find that they're just getting stressed with their art, I feel like this is a great release. Because it's so accessible. It really doesn't matter what you use. I just have examples up here of this is a Reflections 6x6, and for today's demo, this is what I'm going to be using. It's actually a drawing paper. It's a little bit lighter, but it's not a big deal. And then I've got these Lucas half pans and whole pans. I'm going to be applying some acrylic paint, and in future videos I think we can do some fun stuff like this, like Duralar or Yupo paper, which is like a plasticky kind of thing. But today we're going to be smushing art, and I think we can get started. Let me just get this cleared out and we will begin. Okay, so I've got my book out, and again I'm using a square 6x6, and what I'm just going to do is the first layer of paint I put down is not actually going to be for smushing. It's just sort of to lay in a little bit of background color, so I'm not just staring at a cream paper. Let's see, I'll go back into this. I'm going to go into this yellow ochre, and it's just loose, you know. It's nothing that I'm going to stress about. All right, and I want to just loosen up some of those edges. And I want a little bit of, darker areas and lighter areas. So then I'm going to sort of do something similar on this side, but again, not copying it, just kind of like the unpredictability of how that's shaping up. So, like I mentioned, I'm not smushing this. This is just a kind of like an underpainting, if you will. So I'm going to dry this, and then we're going to come back and start applying some layers that we're going to smush. Alright, so my first layer is dry, not going anywhere, and that includes, if I was to close it, it won't change. But now let's add some color. Now let's add some elements that will actually kind of transfer over. So, with that being said, I am going to go into some, let's see, this is some emerald green. And I'm a big fan of emerald. It's my daughter's birthstone. I think it's really pretty. Okay. I want to apply the paint thick enough so that I can get a good transfer. And now, just so I can bring that up. I'm going to add a little titanium white, and you'll see how that affects the finished product. I feel like I want to add just one more color. Something that will offset the emerald. I'm going to go into this Azo Vermilion. Now, this is really where the magic happens. So, I have my page, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the book, and I'm going to smoosh it. I smoosh the art. And I want to make sure I get a good transfer, so I'm trying to apply even pressure across the book. And we will see what we get. So now you have two. You have two separate paintings, but I like to incorporate them into one. So how am I going to do that? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to let this acrylic layer dry, and then I'm going to come back in. We're going to smoosh a little bit more art, and then I'm going to add certain elements to make it look not so symmetrical. Okay, so I'm ready to move on to my next step. Now, I let this dry, but you don't have to if you want to continue to see colors blending together. I like how it's kind of just subtle, these little hints of the emerald and the white. But now I'm going to add a little bit more paint. We're going to smoosh that, and then we'll start adding some other elements. So this is a sap green. Now, before I smoosh this art, I'm going to use this tool that's really great. I mean, this is an art smoosher's dream. It's a art swipe. It's this really cool, like just the right amount of flex plastic card that can allow you to manipulate the paint in different ways. So what I'm going to do is just before I start smooshing this art, I'm just going to pull this out a little bit. Okay, nice and easy. And then you'll see I've got some paint on the side. And I am just going to start incorporating some of that back in. Now, I didn't add quite as much paint as I did for the last round, so this transfer should be a little less spot on. But now I'm going to close the book, and I'm going to smoosh it. I'm going to smoosh the art. Okay, let's see what that. And you see how those elements kind of started to look a little different, just a little bit. So again, you can wait till one layer's dry, you can go right into it, but now it's starting to look a little, just slightly less symmetrical. All right, so just because it's my preference, I'm gonna let this dry and we'll do some highlights and embellishments. Okay, now that we've dried that last layer. And you can keep going, but I think that we want to keep this video shorter. I'm just going to start adding some embellishments, and there's a lot of tools you can use. One of the tools that I really like are these super black ultra fine line pens. These are really great because they come in all different kinds of thicknesses and brush tips, and they're waterproof, so if I decide later to go over it with like a watercolor wash, they won't move. But I'm just going to grab a couple of those. So I've got a 1mm, 2.5 out of 5. Okay, and I'm going to use the 5. And I'm just going to find areas that I find interesting and kind of outline them. These are Sharpie's metallic colors. I've got a gold, silver, and a bronze. And I think I want to go with the bronze. And I'm just going to try to establish, even though this is, abstract, some kind of maybe like light coming from one direction. So just maybe like coming from this direction over the art. I don't want to lose that black line. And just using this same color, I'm just going to add some interest to certain areas. And you can apply this directly over the acrylic, directly over the watercolor. Obviously, because it's dry, I can paint over it. If it was wet, it would make a little bit of a mess, but when I'm doing these little projects, I'm looking for symmetry and not symmetry. I want there to be a symmetry in the fact that it's not necessarily symmetrical. So like uneven line edges, but where it kind of balances itself out around the art. Okay, now And I think I like where that's at right there. So this is our first video on smooshing art. You can look for other art videos of us smooshing art on this channel. And I hope that you find it relaxing, and just kind of echoing what I said before, if you are a beginner at art, this is a very non-intimidating way to get started. And if you're a professional artist that might find themselves a little stressed and not having fun with it, just a way to let loose. So thank you so much for coming to our channel and checking out some of the wonderful art I've smushed.